High school, most kids don't even notice him. They walk right by like he's invisible. But a few kids, they don't just ignore him. They make his days tough, really tough. And those kids have no idea that Max is hiding something huge. Something that's going to change everything. Let's set the scene. It's a bright, sunny Monday morning, the kind of day where the birds are chirping and the air feels fresh. Max is walking through the school courtyard. His backpack is heavy, stuffed with books and a beat-up notebook covered in doodles of dragons and swords. He's got earbuds in and they're blasting music from his favorite game. It's loud, with cool beats that make him feel like he's in a battle. He's not thinking about school or homework. Nope, he's dreaming about his next Battle Forge match where he'll take down a giant troll with one epic move. Max is happy in his own little world. He's not bothering anyone, just walking, bobbing his head to the music, maybe even smiling a bit. But then bam, out of nowhere someone shoves him hard from behind. It's so sudden that Max stumbles forward. His phone slips from his hand and flies through the air. It lands on the pavement with a loud smack. The screen cracks right down the middle like a lightning bolt. "Oops, sorry, gamer boy," a voice says, all mean and loud. Max looks up and there's Jake Larson. Jake's the star linebacker on the school football team. He's big, with broad shoulders and a grin that says he thinks he's the king of everything. His buddies are right behind him, laughing like it's the funniest thing they've ever seen. There's Tommy, who's always chewing gum, and Derek, who's got a loud laugh that echoes. They're Jake's crew and they love making trouble. Max scrambles to grab his phone. His hands shake a little as he picks it up. The crack on the screen looks bad, but he doesn't say anything. He just holds it tight like it's his favorite toy. Around them, other kids are watching. Some are whispering to each other, some are giggling, but nobody steps in to help. Why would they? To most of them, Max is just the weird kid, the one who's always playing games instead of talking. The one who's easy to pick on because he never fights back. Now Jake steps closer, still grinning. "What's wrong, gamer boy? Gonna cry over your little toy," he says. His friends laugh again, slapping each other's backs. Jake's eyes are shiny like he's having the best time ever. He thinks he's won. He thinks Max is scared or sad or weak. But here's the thing, Max doesn't do what Jake expects. He doesn't cry, he doesn't yell, he doesn't even look mad. Instead, he stands up slow. He dusts off his jeans like the shove was no big deal. He slips his cracked phone into his pocket, then he looks at Jake, not with fear, not with anger, just calm, too calm, like he knows something Jake doesn't. Jake's grin fades a tiny bit. He's not used to this. Usually kids get upset or run away when he pushes them around. But Max, he's just standing there staring back. It's weird and Jake doesn't like it. "Whatever, loser," he mutters, turning away. His buddies follow, still chuckling, but it's not as loud now. The crowd starts to break up. Kids head to class, talking about what just happened. To them, it's just another day. Just another moment where Jake showed everyone who's boss. Max watches them go. He adjusts his backpack and starts walking again like nothing happened. But inside his head, he's thinking. He's remembering every word Jake said, every laugh from Jake's friends, every kid who stood there and did nothing. He's not mad though, not really. He's waiting for the right moment. Because Max has a secret, a big one, and Jake, he's got no clue what's coming. Let's talk about Max for a second. He's not your typical high school kid. Sure, he loves video games. He's got Battle Forge Legends on his phone and he's really good at it. like really good. He's beaten levels that make other players give up. In the game, he's a warrior with a glowing sword, taking down monsters twice his size. But in real life, he's quiet. He doesn't talk much in class. He sits in the back, doodling or sneaking a peek at his phone when the teacher's not looking. Most kids don't know his name. They just call him that gamer kid. Max doesn't mind being alone. He's got his games, his music, and his imagination. Those things make him happy, but being alone also makes him a target. Kids like Jake notice when someone's different. They see Max with his earbuds and his old sneakers and they think he's weak. They think he's someone they can push around for fun. And Jake, he's the worst of them. He's been picking on Max since the first week of freshman year. It started with little things, like knocking Max's books off his desk. But now it's bigger, shoves in the courtyard, mean names in front of everyone, cracked phones. You might be wondering why Max doesn't tell someone. He could go to a teacher, right, or the principal. But Max doesn't do that. He's not the kind of kid who runs for help. He handles things his own way. And that's part of his secret. See, Max isn't just sitting there taking it. He's not helpless. He's been working on something. Something nobody at Lincoln High knows about. Not Jake, not the teachers, not even the nice lady in the lunchroom who gives him extra fries sometimes. Let's go back to that Monday morning. After the shove, Max heads to class. His first period is math and he sits in his usual spot by the window. The teacher talking about fractions, but Max isn't really listening. He's looking at his phone, tracing the crack with his finger. It still works, but it's not the same. That phone is his escape. It's where he plays his games, where he feels strong. And now it's broken because of Jake. But Max doesn't get upset. He doesn't throw his phone or slam his desk. He just puts it away and opens his notebook. He starts drawing a quick sketch of a warrior from Battle Forge. The warrior's holding a shield, standing tall against a giant beast. Max smiles a little as he draws. It's like he's telling himself something, like he's saying, "Don't worry, you've got this." The bell rings and Max heads to his next class. All day, kids whisper about what happened in the courtyard. Some laugh when they see him, others just look away. Jake's story is spreading, how he made Gamer Boy drop his phone, how he showed everyone who's in charge. By lunch, it feels like the whole school knows. Jake's sitting at the popular table, telling the story louder each time. His friends are eating it up, adding their own bits to make it sound even meaner. Max sits alone as usual. He's got a tray of pizza and a carton of milk. He's not playing his phone today, it's too cracked to enjoy. Instead, he's watching, not starring, just noticing. He sees Jake laughing. He sees Tommy high-fiving Derek. He sees the other kids glancing at him, then looking away fast. Max takes a bite of his pizza. He chews slow, and he thinks. Here, what makes this moment special? Max isn't planning to cry or hide. He's not dreaming of running away. He's thinking about what comes next. Because Max's secret, it's not just a little thing like knowing how to juggle or being good at math. It's something that could turn everything upside down. Something that would make Jake's grin disappear real fast. I want you to think about this for a second. Why isn't Max scared? Why doesn't he care that Jake's laughing? What's he got up his sleeve? That's the question I'm leaving you with right now. Max is hiding something awesome and it's going to blow everyone's minds. You don't want to miss what happens next, so stick around. This story about to get super exciting. Viewer hook: have you ever met someone who seemed ordinary but turned out to be totally awesome? Tell me in the comments what's something cool about you that nobody knows. Max was used to trouble. Ever since he started at Lincoln High as a freshman, Jake Larson and his buddies made his life hard. They didn't just ignore him like most kids did. Nope, they went out of their way to mess with him. They'd knock his books out of his hands when he was walking to class. The pages would scatter on the floor and they'd laugh like it was a big joke. Sometimes they'd accidentally stick out a foot in the hallway, making Max trip and stumble. Other times they'd see him at lunch, sitting by himself, playing Battleforge Legends on his phone, and they'd make fun of him loud enough for everyone to hear. "Go back to your virtual world, loser," Jake would yell, high-fiving his friends Tommy and Derek. To them, Max was nothing, just a skinny kid who loved video games, just someone who'd never push back no matter what they did. They thought he was weak because he didn't talk much or try to act tough. They thought he was an easy target. But here's the thing about Max, he wasn't like they thought. Sure, getting shoved hurt his shoulder. Sure, his cracked phone made him sad. That phone was his favorite thing, where he could escape into Battleforge and feel like a hero. But when Jake laughed or called him names, Max didn't get mad or cry. He didn't care what Jake thought, not deep down. Instead, every time Jake did something mean, Max's eyes would squint just a little, not in a scared way, in a thinking way, like he was watching Jake. Like he was waiting for the perfect moment, like he knew something nobody else did. Things got worse one day in gym class. It was a warm afternoon and the teacher decided to play dodgeball. The gym smelled like old sneakers and floor polish. The teacher split everyone into two teams. Jake, being the big football star, got to be a captain, of course. He stood tall, picking his friends first, Tommy, Derek, and all the other popular kids. Max, he stood off to the side, hands in his pockets, waiting. Nobody picked him until the very end. The teacher finally said, "Max, you're on Jake's team," but Jake groaned loud enough for everyone to hear. "Great, we're stuck with Gamer Boy," he said, rolling his eyes. The other kids snickered. Max didn't say anything. He just walked to his spot on the gym floor, his sneakers squeaking a little. The game started, and right away, Jake made it clear who he was aiming for. Dodgeballs were flying everywhere, red rubber balls bouncing off the walls and kids shouting. Most players ran around, dodging and throwing, but Jake, he locked his eyes on Max. He grabbed a ball, pulled his arm back, and threw it as hard as he could. Wham! The ball slammed into Max's shoulder so hard it made him stumble back a step. It wasn't a normal throw. It was mean, meant to hurt. The class burst out laughing. "Nice one, Jake," Tommy called, clapping. Max rubbed his shoulder but stayed on his feet. He didn't fall, he didn't even wince. Jake grinned, picking up another ball. "Aw, come on, Gamer Boy, can't you dodge anything?" he shouted, tossing the ball up and catching it like he was showing off. Max looked back at him. His face was calm. Too calm. Most kids would have been embarrassed or upset, but not Max. His eyes met Jake's, steady and quiet, like he was saying something without words. Jake's grin flickered for a second, like he wasn't sure what to make of it. But then he laughed again, louder, to cover it up. The teacher blew her whistle, telling everyone to stop throwing. The game was supposed to pause, but Jake didn't listen. He chucked one last ball, fast and sneaky. It clipped Max's leg, making him stumble again. The bell rang right after, so the teacher didn't see. Kids started heading to the locker room, chattering and giggling about Jake. Awesome throw. Jake walked past Max, making sure to bump his shoulder hard. Better stick to your games, kid, he said, his voice all smug. Max didn't answer. He just picked up a stray dodgeball, rolled it back to the bin, and left the gym. To everyone else, it looked like Jake won again. Another day, another chance to make Max feel small. But Max wasn't feeling small, not even a little. He was thinking, planning, waiting. That night, Max was in his room. It was a small room with posters of Battleforge characters on the walls, warriors with swords and dragons with fiery wings. His desk was messy, covered with school papers and a half-eaten bag of chips. His cracked phone was propped up on a book, but he wasn't playing his game tonight. No epic battles or troll fights. Instead, he was watching something different. Video, not funny cat videos or game walkthroughs. These were videos of punches, kicks, flips. And people moving fast like dancers, but stronger, fiercer. Max's eyes were glued to the screen. His fingers tapped the desk, copying the moves he saw. A punch here, a block there, a spin that looked like it could knock someone over. He wasn't just watching for fun. He was studying, learning, practicing. See, Max wasn't only a gamer. He wasn't just the quiet kid who let Jake push him around. He spent his weekends somewhere special. Somewhere nobody at school knew about. Not Jake, not the teachers. Not even his mom, who thought he was just hanging out with friends. That place, it was a gym across town, not a regular gym with bikes and weights. This one had soft mats on the floor and mirrors all around. People there wore uniforms and practiced moves that looked like a mix of dancing and fighting. Max went there every Saturday and Sunday, tying a belt around his waist and training until he was sweaty and tired. He'd been going for years, getting better and better, stronger and stronger, and what he learned there. It was stuff Jake could never even dream of. Max wasn't scared of Jake. He wasn't weak. He was patient. Every shove, every mean word, every dodgeball thrown too hard, it all went into Max's head. He remembered it. And he knew deep down that one day things would change. Jake thought he was in charge, but Max, he was waiting for the right time to show everyone what he could really do. Viewer hook: what would you do if someone kept picking on you like that? Would you stay quiet or fight back? Let me know below. Time went by and Jake didn't stop being mean. Weeks passed and he kept picking on Max every chance he got. One day he'd grab Max's homework from his desk and say, "Can I borrow this?" But then he'd forget to give it back, leaving Max to explain to the teacher why his work was missing. Another time, Jake started a rumor. He told everyone Max was failing all his classes. That wasn't true. Max got good grades, but kids believed Jake because he was popular. They'd whisper and point at Max in the halls, thinking he was some kind of failure. The worst was at lunch one day. Max was sitting alone, like always, with his tray of chicken nuggets and a juice box. He was about to take a bite when Jake walked over, grinning. Before Max could do anything, Jake picked up the tray and dumped it right into the trash can. Nuggets, fries, everything gone. Gamers don't need food, right? Jake said, laughing loud so the whole cafeteria could hear. His buddies, Tommy and Derek, cracked up too, slapping the table. The other kids looked over, some giggling, some just staring. Max sat there, his tray empty, his stomach grumbling, but he didn't say a word. He didn't yell or cry. He just looked at Jake, his face blank, and then went back to sipping his juice. Most kids would have been mad. Most kids would have felt small or embarrassed. But Max, he wasn't like that. He wasn't weak. He was patient. Every time Jake did something mean, every stolen paper, every rumor, every dumped tray, Max stayed quiet. Not because he was scared, not because he couldn't do anything, because he was waiting. He knew something Jake didn't, and that made all the difference. Then one Friday, something big happened. The school had an assembly in the gym. The principal stood up front, holding a microphone, and announced a cool event, a talent show. But this wasn't a regular talent show. Kids could show off anything they wanted, singing, dancing, juggling, or even sports stuff. The winner would get a shiny trophy and bragging rights, which meant everyone would talk about how awesome they were. The whole school buzzed with excitement. Kids started whispering about what they'd do. Some wanted to sing pop songs. Others planned to do magic tricks or skateboard jumps. Jake was the first to sign up. He jumped out of his seat, flexing his arms like a superhero. "I'm gonna crush it," he shouted. He said he'd do a football trick, spinning the ball and throwing it through a hoop or something. Everyone cheered and clapped. Jake was the star linebacker, so of course they thought he'd win. He grinned, soaking it all up, already acting like the trophy was his. Then something surprising happened. Max raised his hand, quiet, skinny Max who never spoke up in class. The principal looked at him a bit confused. "Yes, Max," she asked. "I want to sign up too," he said, his voice soft but clear. The gym went dead quiet. Nobody moved, nobody whispered, they just stared. Jake's mouth dropped open and then he started laughing, big loud laughs that echoed off the walls. "You," Jake said, snorting, "what are you gonna do, play video games on stage?" His friends cracked up and soon half the room was giggling. Kids nudged each other, whispering things like, "Gamer boy's gonna embarrass himself," or "This is gonna be so dumb." They thought Max was joking. They thought he'd make a fool of himself in front of everyone. But Max didn't laugh. He didn't blush or look away. Instead, he smiled. It was a small smile, sneaky and calm, like he had a secret plan. "You'll see," he said, so quiet you could barely hear. Then he sat back down, folding his arms. The principal wrote his name on the sign-up sheet and the assembly moved on. But Jake, he wasn't laughing as hard anymore. He rolled his eyes, trying to act cool, but for the first time he looked weird. Not scared exactly, but uneasy. Like something about Max's smile bugged him. That moment changed things. Kids started talking about Max, but not in the usual way. Instead of just calling him Gamer Boy, they wondered what he was up to. "What's he gonna do?" one kid asked at lunch. "Probably something lame," another said, but they didn't sound so sure. Max didn't tell anyone anything. He just went to class, did his work, and kept to himself like always. But now people noticed him a little more, and Jake, he noticed too. Max spent the next week getting ready. Not at school, though. After the final bell rang, when most kids were hanging out or playing sports, Max grabbed his backpack and left. He didn't go home to play Battleforge Legends. He didn't go to the arcade or the park. He went somewhere else, somewhere nobody at school knew about. It was a gym across town, not like the fancy ones with shiny machines and smoothie bars. This gym was different. It had soft mats covering the floor so you wouldn't get hurt if you fell. It had punching bags hanging from the ceiling, swaying a little when you hit them. And it had big mirrors on the walls so you could see yourself from every angle. When Max got there, he'd go to a small changing room. He'd take off his school clothes, his old jeans and hoodie, and put on something else, a black uniform that looked kind of like pajamas but tougher. He'd tie a belt around his waist, pulling it tight. Then he'd step onto the mats, ready to work. This wasn't a place for messing around. Max trained hard. He'd spin his body, kicking high in the air. He'd punch fast, his fists snapping like they could break something. He'd jump and twist, landing soft like a cat. Sometimes he'd practice with other kids, blocking their moves or dodging their kicks. Sometimes he'd work alone, hitting a bag until his arms ached. His coach was a man named Mr. Chen. He was older, with short hair and a serious face, but his eyes were kind. He watched Max train, arms crossed, nodding now and then. "Good, Max," he'd say. "Keep your balance, stay sharp." And when Max finished a hard move, like a kick that spun him all the way around, Mr. Chen would smile. "You're ready," he'd say, his voice low but sure. Ready for what? Nobody at school had a clue. Not Jake, who was busy practicing his football trick in the school field. Not the teachers, who just saw Max as the quiet kid in the back. Not even Max's few friends, who only knew he liked games. Max didn't tell anyone about the gym or what he did there. He didn't brag or show off. He just trained day after day, getting stronger and faster. And every night he'd lie in bed, thinking about the talent show. It was coming soon, only a few days away now. Max wasn't nervous. He was excited. He was counting down the hours. The talent show was the biggest event at Lincoln High. The gym was so full you could hardly find a seat. Students sat cross-legged on the floor, giggling and whispering. Parents filled the bleachers, holding phones to record their kids. Teachers stood near the walls, smiling and chatting. The air buzzed with excitement, like everyone knew something amazing was about to happen. Bright lights shone down on the stage, and a big banner hung above that said, "Lincoln High Talent Show," in sparkly letters. Jake Larson went first. He was the school's football star, so everyone expected him to be awesome. He strutted onto the stage wearing his team jersey, carrying a football. The crowd cheered before he even started. Jake grinned, loving the attention. He began his act by tossing the football through a hoop set up across the stage. The ball sailed through perfectly, swish. Everyone clapped and shouted. Then he dropped to the floor and did a bunch of push-ups, counting loud so everyone could hear. 1, 2, 3. He popped back up, flexing his arms like a superhero. The crowd went wild, chanting, "Jake, Jake, Jake." He took a big bow, smirking like he already had the trophy in his hands. Jake was sure he'd won. No question. As Jake walked off, he high-fived his buddies, Tommy and Derek, who were sitting in the front row. They were laughing and yelling, "That's our guy." Jake plopped into his seat, leaning back with a big grin. He looked around, acting like the king of the school. Everyone thought Jake's act was the best. How could anyone beat that? Then it was Max's turn. Max Carter, the quiet kid everyone called Gamer Boy, the kid Jake loved to pick on. The gym got a little quieter as Max's name was called. People whispered to each other, wondering what he'd do. Max walked onto the stage slow and calm. He wore his usual outfit, old jeans and a gray hoodie that was a bit too